Today I'm going to do two things. I'm going to go as far as I can towards the full planche, so I'm going to show my progressions towards that on the P-bars from basic warm-up all the way through the progressions as far as I can towards the full planche, and I'm going to give a general overview of my update on my journey towards the full planche. I had some really good tips and tricks and feedback from you guys in the last couple of videos, so I'm just going to review those and talk about that. But first I'm just going to go through today's session. So warm-up wise on the higher P-bars, I'm going to go into protraction and retraction, just hold a support positions and go into that rounded upper back position. So just going from like neutral position, it's not really retraction, it's more neutral position of the scapula, and then pushing up to protraction and back again. And then next set, progress into a little bit harder, so I'm going to go into more of a tuck position, bring the knees towards the chest and push more up towards that tuck planche, hold for a couple of seconds and come back down again. Next into a full tuck planche, so 10-second hold at least. Okay, next I'm going to go to advanced tuck or open tuck position. So my goal is to get my knee underneath my hip and my hip in line with my shoulder. Now obviously everyone's different in terms of their progressions they should be working with the planche work. I'm basing it around 5 to 10-second holds at the moment, so I'm going to keep going with the variations, the progressions, as long as I can stay within that 5 to 10 seconds for my main bulk of sets. So I've just done 2 sets with the flat back position. I'm going to progress to like a frog position now, so starting to go towards a straddle planche with bent knees. And I'm going to do 2 to 3 sets of this. I'm just going to show the 1 set, but I'm going to do 2 to 3 sets. So I recommend that you do the same. So whichever variation that you're on where you can hold between that 5 to 10 seconds, then stay there for your main sets and reps. And then once you've done that, have a little play of more advanced positions or go longer holds with the easier positions. Okay, next position I'm going to aim for is the straddle planche. One of the main issues that I do is I have my hip way too high on the straddle position and the tuck. It was the way I learnt it, so very high hip position. So that's a bit of a bad habit for me at the moment. So when I go into the straddle planche now, I'm going to try and open the hip as much as possible. So the hip should ideally be in line with the shoulders. Now with the straddle position and the frog position, I'm not fully happy with my protraction. And also the elbows. I want to really lock those elbows out and try and get the shoulders as far forwards as possible. So I've set up the box. I'm going to do some protraction holds with straight body in sort of full planche position, trying to lean forwards as far as I can with the shoulders and try and make the toes as light as possible. So that wasn't bad. I feel like I can get much further forwards with the shoulders on those P-bars than I can on the fatter P-bars and also on the floor. So I'm going to continue with 3 more sets of protraction holds, just in that position, trying to get the arms dead straight, full protraction, and hip in line with the shoulders. Then I'm going to do a few dynamic reps of going back between L-sit and full planche, just to visit it for a few seconds. And then I'll do a bit of a recap on the feedback that I've had and the pulley that I've been using at Aspen, which I think really could help. Now I'm just going to do a quick recap over the last few sessions of planche. I thank you to everyone who responded to my last one and gave me feedback on things to look at. It's really good to have that extra person, that extra set of eyes look at your training, especially if you self-program and self-train. Even though I'm a coach, it's really good to have other people, especially if they have a full planche, to give me a different viewpoint and also just get reinforcement of the stuff that I'm already thinking already. So thank you to these guys. If I've missed anyone off the list, I apologize. But any comments is greatly appreciated. So some really good feedback in terms of scapular positioning, wrist positioning, hand positioning, head position, like where I'm looking, reinforcing how important it is to work on those protraction holds and not stop working on those. And also to introduce a little bit more combination of the bent arm and the straight arm. Now I've got a strong bent arm, but it's very separate from my straight arm. So trying to combine them at least once or twice a week was going to be interesting. Now one thing I have been playing with a lot, I think it will help me, but I'm not doing it as my main training. It's like an extra. It might just be an assessment, but I really like it because you can get a number from it, is to use this pulley. Now this is the same pulley we use for one arm chin work at Aspen. So it just allows you to add some weight with minimal friction. If you just put a strap over a ring, you get lots of friction, or a strap over a bar. So with the pulley, you don't get hardly any friction. So what the weight you're lifting is the weight you're lifting. So here I'm just playing with 3 or 4 kilos and going into a full planche position. And to get an idea whether this is actually beneficial or not, I got Sam and Glenn at the gym, so both really strong guys, to try exactly the same setup to see whether they could get a lift off, and they couldn't quite get their toes off the floor where I could get my toes off the floor. So I think that shows that I'm slightly stronger in that planche position. Obviously I've been doing way more planche work than they have. So my goal is to at least once per week to complete the same setup, both with the P-bars and hands on the floor, and just to see whether I can decrease that dumbbell, because the goal is to go into that protraction hold position and obviously lift up the toes. Now I'm not going to put too much content of my other sessions because it is just repetition of the same thing, so I'll flash a few videos up on the screen of my sets and reps. So I'll leave it there for today. Hopefully that's given you a bit of more insight into some planche training if you're working on it yourself. So some of those easier progressions up on the higher P-bars. Any other feedback or suggestions will be highly appreciated, so stick them down in the comments. Normal deal, thumbs up and subscribe will be appreciated. And I'll speak to you next time. Thanks guys.